Welcome to Cocktails with the Crew, a podcast about wedding planning, New Orleans style. You're listening to episode 10.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Cocktails with the Crew. I'm Jessica Burke with New Orleans Weddings Magazine.
And I'm Jessica Talzak with Republic NOLA.
And we are so excited to have you all back again for our first double digits episode. We, of course, in every episode, we have a cocktail, and today's no different. So Jessica, tell us what you have created for us today.
Yeah, so this one we're calling the Love RX because it features some juice from Raw Republic, who we had on our last episode. Yes. Sheena with Raw Republic came on.
Yes, we did.
And talked to us a little bit about wellness and incorporating that into weddings and events right now and how that's a really big trend. So this cocktail has this juice in it, which is called Dr. Carter's Thyroid Juice. It's got pineapple, aloe, coconut water, ginger, and rosemary. So we've paired that, since it's got the coconut water in it, with Stillhouse has a coconut whiskey, which if you're unfamiliar with Stillhouse whiskey, it's actually a white whiskey. So what I like to tell people is if you are a vodka drinker and a whiskey drinker, this is your perfect kind of blend, because it drinks smooth like a vodka. So it's great for summertime, really refreshing, and we did a coconut honey lime rim on it just to give it a little flair and pizzazz.
I can't wait to try this. But before we do, we want to introduce our topic. And Jessica had actually read an article recently that had some very interesting statistics in it. Those were about the most stressful jobs out there. And guess what? What top 5 was?
Top 5. So number 5 being an event coordinator, wedding planner, and the only ones above that are police officer, airline pilot, firefighter, and enlisted military personnel. So, that says a lot right there.
It does say a lot.
That this job is definitely very stressful. You're dealing with the most important day in someone's life, so that's got a lot of weight to it.
Yes.
And then additionally, not only do planners go through stress at this time, but
so do brides.
Yeah, the bride and grooms and couples and families that are involved in everything.
Basically anything involving event planning. I think, probably.
So some other statistics we found were that 86% of respondents suffer on average 3+ stress-induced symptoms like skin breakouts, hair loss, insomnia, headaches. And then 71% of those surveyed said that wedding planning was more stressful than major life events like buying a home or finding a job. Again, that says a lot about the stress that can come with wedding planning. It's supposed to be really fun and enjoyable, in theory, but a lot of people tend to realize once they begin planning that there's a lot more to it than they ever anticipated, and need a little help getting through that.
So, on that note, we actually have a fantastic guest. It's Sharon Heno with BHCC. It's a counseling service in Metairie, Louisiana, where we're from, and we'd love to invite Sharon over right now to come join us for cocktails and conversation about planning and managing stress.
Hello.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, there we go. And I will get over here into my spot and do a little quick
cheers.
Cheers. Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'd love to have you tell us a little bit about what you do, your practice, and why you chose the counseling profession.
Okay, definitely. Do we take a sip?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Please taste it. Tell us how it is.
That is amazing.
I love it.
It is really good.
I could drink this by a pool all day.
Yeah, I know.
This is awesome. Made the recipe for this.
Yes,
this
we'll
is
have
a treat
it.
because in the world of counseling, we don't get to do this while we talk about mental health.
Yes,
that's true.
It's a bit frowned upon, but in this setting, this is very nice.
Yes, this is why we're here. Just great conversation.
Probably reach and grab for that again. So, you asked why become a counselor. I often share, personally, I'm a cautionary tale of what not to do. Mental health has been a friend in my own life, and I share it openly because if my life and my stories can illuminate or advocate for mental wellness, the stigma, the more anything I can do to reduce that. So I fell in love with the world of mental health, and then as we found out the connection with mind and body. And I've been in the profession for 12 plus years now, and seeing the connection, seeing the stigma be reduced, and the mental wellness and proactive approach coming out is really where I want to take my practice and kind of what we focus on. We don't do any med management. We will refer that out. Certainly, medication is necessary, essential. With talk therapy and other interventions, work beautifully. It's just to be the go-to. Sometimes there are other things we can try first. And assessing that rather than being the go-to, a pill is going to fix it. I think we're getting out of that era of that.
Right.
What I'm seeing, particularly with the up-and-coming generation and their passion about mental wellness, recognizing how it affects their daily functioning, or I love they're so in tune with triggers and stressors. So we are really being sought out for anything with adjustment. I mean, we deal with the more severe diagnosis, dual diagnosis, but we also deal with helping people manage anxiety, depression. But I would say a good half of our practice are people dealing with adjustment. The beauty of it is insurance pays for adjustment codes.
So when you say adjustment, you mean reacting to life events?
Reacting to life. So the beauty of it is that there is you're not living with a diagnosis for the rest of your life. You know, you're adjusting to something in your life. It kind of, the trend started with new moms, men coming in with a phase of life and career things that they weren't satisfied. But then we started seeing the brides.
So tell us, you've worked with a few.
I've worked with a few brides. I've actually worked with a few couples that came in. Now this is not premarital counseling in the sense of what religions do. They do a fabulous job, you know, with their work with couples in that journey. This is really about how are you going to get through the wedding? What are some of those conversations that maybe you've thought in your mind and the couples haven't been able to really formulate it without being afraid they're going to set off a big argument or a family feud? And how candid can I be?
Oh, you can be as candid as you want.
I
mean, no names,
but,
you know.
Say, really, if you can be ready to be married, to have healthy sex life, you really should be able to talk about anything. You know, and so when we lift that up, they very quickly are like, oh my gosh, and it's parenting styles. It's lots of discussions around finances. I have an accountant I refer tons of my couples to because I'm like, I'm not a money person, but that's a conversation.
That's one of the biggest stressors in marriage?
That first year into marriage, when these couples really see how the other person lives and where those values and belief systems are, that's where, things get rocky and strange. Right? And, it's like, it could be as much as, he goes out and wants to buy a boat, or she comes home with a bag of shoes, and they're like, what? It's how to have those conversations about what is our vision, what is important to us.
Exactly.
Brides come in, and when you mentioned the skin color and the rashes and the hair loss, the skin, the hair, the trickle in mental health, I can't even say the word, the trichomania, all those anxiety behaviors are increased, and oftentimes because, once again, the bride is not stepping up or speaking and advocating for herself.
Right. How soon do you find people seek out help, to come and talk to you? But do they come to you before the hair started falling out? Or
So, in my perfect world, I would love for them, as soon as they get engaged, to call up and say, hey, we want to come in and just meet with you for a few sessions. That would be, in a perfect world, usually symptoms and things have already started.
Right. It's got to get a problem before they're reaching out for help.
So, but you guys opening this platform up for this, maybe this would open that door. I've even put my cards and pamphlets for the practice at photography studios that do a lot of brides, and they always pick up a card. I think it's just, people don't think, because it's such a happy day. It's such a happy time. I mean, I don't know about you, but I went to Ursuline, and I remember in high school we had to do an exercise that we had to plan a wedding. And so many times these these girls are doing this from very early on. And then the reality sets in. It's super exciting, but it is emotional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is emotional. It's emotional for everyone involved. I was not surprised that the wedding event planner would be in the top most stressful jobs because you're dealing with emotions.
Too. Right.
Yeah. And you can't, first responders are trained to not get emotionally involved. With wedding planners, I think they probably need to some degree, but they also have to be so personable.
Yeah.
So I definitely can see where that comes in.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and also there's two sides to it, and I'm sure you work with a lot of professionals who are dealing with stress in their jobs, and I mean dealing with someone that's planning events and trying to manage other people's emotions. Like, what tips do you have? Like, say someone's just gotten engaged, before they go and start planning, what do you suggest they do first? From a good mental health.
So for me, one thing, and I had a friend's. Actually, her 3 children, beautiful, beautiful families now. When they got engaged, one thing that I held back from doing, I wanted to know about the engagement. I wanted to hear that story. I wanted to hear it over and over again. But what I noticed is the other adults and other people are like, well, when's the date? When's the date?
And all that pressure.
Like,
pressure, right.
Yes, let them, savor that. Let them tell you that engagement story 100 times for at least the first week. Let them savor that moment.
I feel that too. I definitely, I work for the venue here as the in-house coordinator, and a lot of times we have brides come to us and they're so consumed and worried about what everyone else thinks and what their families want and what
it's all about
friends think and what the stigma of certain vendors are more, sought after than others, and they're just so focused on that they forget what it's all about.
What the real reason is.
Right, and what the core, thing about it is that this is the most special day for them for what they want.
And so that's that communication. And so you were asking tips. One thing, I tell all my clients, and I would tell this to bride and to the couple, get a notebook. Start journaling. Whenever your dialogue comes in, when that word pops in, we need to get that out. Mm-hmm. Should is a judgment word.
Yes.
We do a lot of cognitive behavior therapy. Anytime you are thinking about something and should comes in, you need to eliminate that. Mm-hmm. Fill it in with needs to happen, wish it would happen, wants to happen. But in that, you will discover what you really like.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because a lot of it is coming from family members. Now, there is the piece that, there is the piece, and I'm very candid with my clients. If, mom and dad are forking the bill for the wedding, they're probably going to have some say-so.
Yeah.
There's an appropriate way to have that conversation.
About compromise.
But if you're paying and doing the wedding on your own, which I think more couples, I'm noticing,
becoming much
are
more common.
More common, because I think they want to have and express what represents them. They need to be able to advocate and assert that without being aggressive. And there are ways to do that, and that's kind of what I teach in the session. So I had a mother and daughter I was working with, and the mom was getting really frustrated, and it was creating some trouble in the dynamic because she couldn't get her daughter to do anything. And it was, and mom was doing everything and then getting angry about it. And so it was, well, whose wedding really is this?
Yeah.
Well, as we came to find out when I got them both in, was the visions did not match up.
So the daughter just checked out.
Shut down.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
She just didn't want to do her mom's wedding.
Well, and it wasn't even mom's wedding. It was what mom believed the daughter wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
So
there was no communication.
So once we got everybody on the same page, delegated some duties, stopped enabling some bad behavior. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Type of a thing. That was a big piece, and so I think because it's such an emotional piece and period in someone's life, it's emotional for everybody, and
so
it's
true.
Emotional for everyone involved in a different way.
Yeah,
and human nature, we avoid conflict, so we don't speak up and say things. So I guess what I would love for people to do is really come to the table, the couple, and really discuss what they want.
Priorities.
And then take that to, if there are other financial people involved, bring that to those other individuals and talk with them about the vision.
Yeah.
Event planners are great when you don't know at all what you want to do, but I think that can be a runaway train too.
Yeah.
It's true. I've worked with a lot of outside planners who I felt like pushed their own ideas and their own vision onto people, which is why I work so hard to not do that and not, and to always really listen and to try and give honest and good feedback. Sometimes people have ideas that from experience are not going to work the way they think they are in their head, and you need to tell them that. But I don't think it's always necessary to dissuade people from what they actually want to create, a vision that's your own. Like, it's just definitely about coming from a place of service instead of a place of ego.
And I've had people come in that are, after their meetings, are just tear-ridden because they almost felt bullied into something.
Yes.
And I truly don't believe that was the intention. I don't want to go after wedding
No,
planners.
I don't think anybody
that's
intends
the intention. I think they're trying to get some vision and get something done. And, once again, it goes back to really communicating what you want and be confident in it.
Yeah.
And then if you don't know what you want, be confident in that.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
It's true. Yeah. There's a lot of people who have no idea where to begin, no idea what, where to start, and you kind of have to give them some ideas to see what direction they're going to go in. But, it's
important to be
listening.
honest in that side too. If you're just saying, oh yeah, because it's a suggestion, I feel like options are helpful in that,
Definitely.
What extremes can you?
You can eliminate, and it doesn't have to go down the route of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, asserting is not aggression.
Right.
It is a very diplomatic way of communication, listening, but standing firm to who you are and what you want that to be.
Yeah. Right. So now, as wedding professionals, I mean, you are in event planning and event management, and we have photographers on our team, and I mean, we're all in the wedding world. It's a very stressful job. A lot of people experience burnout in this industry. I mean, we see it.
Yeah.
Just they come in.
Self-care.
Yes, you're so excited and happy about it because it is a great time of life. But then over time, it's almost like you become jaded a little bit.
True.
And how do you suggest people avoid becoming jaded? I mean, in any career, really.
In any career, and it truly is. It's it's almost like business programs. Business is business. This self-care piece speaks to everyone. If you're burnt out, you've let it go too long. And there are times that you'll have to take a sabbatical from whatever it is you do to step back, whether it's an extended vacation or just a staycation, to stay home and just kind of
take breaks.
Take a break. The important thing is to know what's important to you, to have your own priorities, not other people's, not what they should be.
Yeah.
Right? Once again, there's that creepy little word. Not what they should be, but what they truly are to you. And, and what is important to me is probably not going to be, we might have some common threads, but which really, at the end of the day, it's very personal to where someone is in their life, who they are, and there really is no right or wrong.
This could be maybe a way to use the journal as a business person, thinking about what it is you really want. What is your vision for this business? Why are you here? And then if you get too far away from it, to
I laugh
reevaluate.
because I shared this today. I was working with an individual, and they said it was odd that they went to buy a notebook, and we're thinking, what am I going to do with this notebook? And I use the analogy. I'm like, all through school, we start out in kindergarten we have a notebook for everything. We go to high school, we have notebooks and binders. We go to college, we still have them.
Yeah.
Maybe we have, electronic, more computerized, but we still have those notebooks. And then we get out in the real world, and it's like, oh, you don't need that anymore. We really need that tool, very basic. And I always recommend a divider notebook, right? One for like your reflection and your own thoughts, where those priorities. One for your finances, one for whether it's religion or meditation, for goals. But there's categories that make you you. And this notebook is to be given attention to all those areas that make you you. If you're doing that, you're going to prevent that burnout.
Yeah.
You've got to constantly think about what do I like to do? Do I like to go to boxing? Is that critical for me to have a good week?
Yeah.
Yoga. For me, I've been in this industry for 10 years now, and about 4 or 5 years in, I realized that like I completely lost myself. Like, to this job, I do close to 100 events a year.
Wow.
So I mean, it's very easy to get all consumed by it, and yoga is what really like saved me. So now I make a serious point to take out an hour a day for myself for that. And it's funny, like when I get into a really grind time and like start to put off going after like a week of not going, like you start to see it. Not only does your stress level go up,
energy level drops.
Right, but my creativity, my patience with people, my just like day-to-day life becomes so much harder. And so, it's I just can't preach enough like how important that is to really take time for yourself to remember why you do this, why this
is so important.
Yeah, the why. And like that's what I always come back to.
To the why.
When I get frustrated with the tedious little day-to-day stuff with dealing with brides and their families and some of the frustrations that come with that, like I always come back to the why, and the why is because you are creating this amazing special moment in someone's life, and this is like
step back and enjoy it.
Yeah,
enjoy the process.
and to enjoy their happiness.
Yeah.
And so, you got to come back to the why for sure.
I would also think that, even if you're doing that daily self-care, sometimes just having someone to be a sounding board and non-judgmental sounding board.
Non-biased. It really is. So in my perfect world, I would love for, like we have a year physical, we get to go to our EMDs, we get to go to our doctors for that once a year checkup. In the world of mental health, I'm not sure it could work in one session, but I do feel if you got 4 sessions a year that you got
quarterly
to
check-in.
Yeah.
Even just annually, even just that, I feel that we could globally reduce stress levels.
Change the world.
We would see a decrease in depression, a decrease in anxiety, a decrease in a number of other things. I'm not going down the rabbit hole because this is
that's so true though.
But I do feel like, and that's like my passion, to see that really come to play out. But I do believe that anyone who has that power, I know our practice, we take sliding scale, we do private insurance, we do private pay. I mean, sliding scale is reserved for those families and individuals in need. But, the phone is ringing more, and on the other side, it's not always in crisis. It often is something's coming up, and I just, or I'm up against this decision in life, I need to talk. It's not about us telling you what to do or me telling you what to do.
We probably know the answer. Most people probably know what they should do, and they just need to
hear someone else tell them.
Realize it. It's hidden in there somewhere. We help you chisel away. I do coaching services, and that's when I get to tell you what to do. and I'm a little more, all right, what you need to do if you want to get to this point. But in therapy, that is not what that role is for. But I do think that just anytime you're coming up again a life-changing event, don't wait for it to be a problem.
Don't wait for it to snowball so much that you're losing your hair.
No kidding. You decide. I had a gentleman come in. He decided to leave his job here, very influential position here in the entertainment industry, and he decided he just wanted to get rid of everything, walk away from that, and move to a beach town. But
nice.
What he was hearing was, that's crazy. You're going to let go of everything you built up. Well, what we came in 2 small sessions was his priority and his priorities, his values, all that had changed. And what he wanted was he was going to have to work, but he could work at a place on the beach, and that's what he wanted to do, and he could afford to do it. Sometimes what we want to do and what we realistically, sitting across from someone who's going to be honest.
Yes.
With you
Gotta be real.
and non-biased can be beneficial. But it does not need to be a reactive or a crisis situation. It can be a very proactive, just almost like a personal consultant.
But the nice thing here about dealing with a counselor is it's confidential.
Yes, absolutely.
You're not going to go say, "Oh, Sally over here,"
No, it is. We are bound no matter what the reason is you're coming in. Outside of some conditions, which I'm not going to go into that, but everything you say in those doors is confidential. And as adults and people that are getting married and getting that age are adults, everything is done with you. There's no reporting. There's no, like I said, there's not even diagnosing because we can use adjustment, which basically just says you're going through an adjustment with some symptoms. But no, if your boss calls, we don't acknowledge that you're there or we even know you. Yeah. Mom calls. We don't, Dad calls, the fiance calls. It is, it's, unless you have signed paperwork asking us to speak to someone, it is 100% confidential. And
that's very relieving.
We take it to the grave.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, with the stigma and stuff, I just think that things have come so far in the realm of mental health, and most people
and your generation is doing that
for sure. And a lot of people in general conversation will start it out with, "Well, my therapist says," and it's
So
it's
with my clients, I won't acknowledge them when I see them out, and I tell them that I'm like, but if you see me and I will then. But for your privacy, I'm not going to be like, "Oh, that's my client." People know what I do. Mardi Gras. St. Charles Avenue. I'm a therapist.
Yeah.
That's on you.
But there shouldn't be any shame with that. To me, when I hear that somebody goes to therapy or goes to counseling, it means that they care about
themselves.
Self-care. Right. And not only themselves, but the way, the things that you internalize tend to end up projected on other people. So I think that's so important, especially when entering into a life-bound relationship with someone. It's not fair to project your anxiety and
in theory,
life changing maybe.
Right. Yeah, it is.
But it's just not fair to project those anxieties and insecurities onto someone else. I think it's important to deal with it and to not do that to someone. So
you're there to grow together,
right?
Not break each other.
Right.
We say it's like a plant. Yeah. You have to water it if you want it to grow.
Yes, it's true. So
very cool. Well, I'm so glad you got to join us today.
Yeah, have more of this.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's so
it's
good.
Been great.
So delicious.
The flavors. Cheers.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody who joined us this week, and we hope you will review us on iTunes and everywhere. Please come back next week for episode 11, and we look forward to seeing you then. Happy wedding planning.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cocktails with the Crew is a New Orleans Weddings Magazine production, filmed on location at Republic NOLA in New Orleans Warehouse District, featuring host Jessica Talazak, Director of Special Events for Republic NOLA, and Jessica Burke, Publisher of New Orleans Weddings Magazine. Audio recording by Ellen Kramer. Video by Brian Jarrow. Theme music Blues Genius by Steve Fox. Copyright 2019, New Orleans Weddings Magazine. Grab a copy of the latest edition of New Orleans Weddings Magazine at a store near you, or have a copy mailed to you. Visit thenowbride.com and click on Get a Copy. That's thenowbride.com. Happy planning from the New Orleans Weddings team.